There are new developments in the investigation around the U.S. strike that hit a Doctors Without Borders hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan, a few months ago. And now we know that two servicemen went to Congress and testified that special operations, U.S. special operations, called for the strike with faulty intelligence from Afghan partners. And now we know this because a Republican, Duncan Hunter, representative from California, sent a letter to Defense Secretary Ash Carter telling him, we have this information. He didn't name the servicemen, protecting them from any type of backlash from sharing this with Congress, but he did say the narrative that Campbell, the top general in Afghanistan, put together last November is full of holes, and now we know that although they already accepted fault at it, maybe Afghan forces manipulated the U.S. special operations into believing that the Taliban was holding that hospital as a headquarter instead of the service that Doctors Without Borders was giving at the time.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of counter information coming out about this story, and you and I have reported on it ourselves time and again. Look, the Associated Press, they've reported that military intel, they had knowledge that Taliban activity was happening at that hospital. They also knew that Pakistani intelligence were working with insurgents. So that was the narrative at the time. And then the second narrative coming out was, well, whoops, it was faulty intel, it was faulty equipment, we're holding people accountable, namely pilots and the operatives of that bombing strike. So, you know, more information coming out, but the official narrative was that it was an accident.
Yeah, they were, at the beginning, Campbell, the 25th of November, Campbell came forward in a press conference and described what went down. He said that a faulty equipment and a miscommunication have created this need to identify the hospital by other means that were not the very, very, very precise radar information that we have. So they claim that it was a combination in between a glitch, a technological glitch, and human error. Now we know that it's not necessarily that way, that maybe the Afghani forces gave the wrong information. Why? Because the Afghani forces had already raided this hospital before, and they didn't like the fact that they were treating Taliban fighters. Mm-hmm. So, also, we know that the Special Operations General actually wrote in a report one day before the airstrike that there indeed was Taliban activity at the hospital. Borders Without Doctors always refuted this allegation, and actually the investigations, both the US and the independent one, pointed that that was true, that there was no weapons, there are no weapons used at the time in the hospital. Yet we have 31 civilians killed by a mistake. The US getting involved in a terrible mistake, if you will, that shows how ineffective this strategy of airstrikes results.
Well, that's certainly more plausible than their first description or their first explanation of sensory malfunction. So at least that makes some sense.
Yeah, Duncan Hunter, this Republican from California, not only did he say, why are these holes in the narrative that you are presenting, explaining why did we kill 31 civilians in an airstrike, but also saying, where are all that millions of dollars that you guys are spending in the technology to really, really understand your war space?